Well, hello and welcome everyone. This is our time with the Center of Excellence series. And today we have Whitney Wagner with the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center here at the Lundquist College of Business at the University of Oregon. So my name is Jared Barlow. I'm the Executive Director of Admission. And with me today is Whitney Wagner. And Whitney, let's dive in and let's hear a little bit about your background. If you want to do a deeper dive into your introduction, let's hear a little bit about you and kind of your role. And then we've got some great questions prepared. And feel free to use the chat feature, everyone, and type in your questions about the center. But let's get started by getting to know Whitney a little bit, and then we'll get to know the center.
Awesome. Great to see everybody out there today. Thanks for having me, Jared and Sarah. My name is Whitney Wagner, and I have the distinct honor and privilege to be the director of the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center here at the Lundquist College of Business. I'm an Oregonian, which these days around these parts are not always sure to find a bona fide Oregonian, but I am one. I grew up in the Portland metro area and myself came down to the University of Oregon and did my bachelor's degree in business here at the Lundquist College myself. And just had an absolutely transformational and amazing time on this campus. And I was an undergraduate student here when our founder, Jim Warsaw, made his founding gift to start the center. And that was in 1993 into 1994 when Jim made a donation to create a specialized area of study and student experience in the business of sport marketing. And at that time, in the early mid 90s, when he founded the center, we were the first program in higher ed in the United States to put the study of sport marketing into a college of business. I'm sure as many of you have been researching other graduate programs in the sport business, now there are many other programs that are foundationally in a business school, but we were the first. And that has been a point of pride for us during these past 25 plus years, where Jim had a vision that we needed to train the next generation of sports marketing leaders, and we had to do that on the foundation of business education. So we were sort of the OG of sport marketing programs in a business school, the first to make it an MBA program proper. And we've had a long run of success, really as a category definer and a first mover in what it is to earn an MBA, become classically trained in all of the elements of business, and to take a specialized look into what are the trends, the necessary tools, and the areas of opportunity specific to working in sport. So I was here as an undergraduate myself. I met Jim. He started us down the path of launching the center. And he served as a mentor to me. And when I graduated from U of O, he helped me land my first big girl job, which was at the National Football League in New York. So it was a quite an adventure to go from Eugene, Oregon to 410 Park Avenue, and to launch my career in this business at the top of the game, right? And so I was in New York and at the National Football League for about 8 years. I was in the corporate partnerships group, selling sponsorships, managing our corporate relationships with brands like Visa and Motorola and all the others. And then I went to graduate school myself, part-time at night. I earned my MBA at New York University while I was still working full-time at the league office. Had an amazing time, learned from really smart young rising executives in the New York City area. And then September 11th, 2001 happened. And I felt a calling to come back to my roots, which for me is here in the Pacific Northwest. And so I was able to transition from the professional side of the business of sport, and get absolutely the once in a lifetime chance to work at my alma mater, within the sports marketing program that I had seen be born while I was here. And so now I've been back here almost 17 years, working in various capacities with the sport business program. I've taught classes, I've managed the undergraduate program. I'm the director now, sort of soup to nuts of what we do in sport business from a student perspective, curriculum, co-curriculars, study tours, industry engagement, alumni engagement, having the time of my life to marry an industry that I love and I'm passionate about, which is probably why you're all here joining us today. And I get to do it at a place that really made me who I am, this campus, and my love for this university and for the ducks of all kinds. So it's great that you're interested in learning about what we have to offer. We are super, super proud of what we've built over time. And I'm happy to answer any more questions. I don't know, Jared, if you want to start with some of the questions, or we go
Yeah,
to
so that's
yeah.
a great intro to inviting questions. So we do want to make it interactive. So go ahead and type any questions you have into the chat feature. I'm going to start off with a few questions for Whitney to get us started, but then we'll dive back and forth between the audience participation and questions that we have ready to talk about different aspects of the center. So Whitney, if you can, you talked a lot about some great things that are connected to the center and how it got started. And we're excited that you're leading the helm in this charge at this time. So talk to us a little bit about the function of the center and kind of what resources are available to graduate students. Specifically, let's focus in toward the MBA specialization in sports business.
Yes,
So
yes.
available to
We
students and
uh
how
we are we Craig Leon and I, my colleague on the MBA side, we sort of talk about ourselves like the homeroom, to use sort of a middle school term, right? That we're sort of the homeroom or clubhouse of the sports business experience for our MBA students. So we are responsible for the co-curricular and experiential learning elements of your time in the MBA program. Things like guest speakers, study tours, special learning events that happen on campus. 3 years ago, we did a workshop on social justice and athlete activism. Last spring, right before the shutdown, we did a special one-day workshop on the business of esports. So we program the day-to-day student experience, the co-curriculars outside the classroom. We handle all of the big experiential learning elements that may happen off campus or special deep dives on campus. And we really are the lead connectivity point for our students with industry. We have an industry advisory board specific to the Warsaw Center. That's 12 industry executives who volunteer to help mentor our students, to help me think about the future of studying sport business in the 21st century and what we need to be offering. So we're a point of contact between our industry board of advisors and our students. We also help connect our students with our alumni. Because we've been around for 25 plus years, because we invest a lot of our time and energy in keeping up with where our alumni are, we have a great relationship, an active relationship with, nearly 1,000 names in a group of folks who have said we're interested in giving back to the center. So Craig and I work together to make sure that we are providing introductions and engagement opportunities with our alumni. So that's a long answer. The short answer is co-curricular, experiential learning, study tours when we're able to do them, and then a conduit to industry, which usually takes the form of managing relationships with our board and our alumni.
So I'll ask one more question, then we'll dive into some great questions that we're seeing coming into the chat. So you made a really good point of conduit to industry. So if you can maybe dive deeper, what are the caliber of kind of connections with the Warsaw Board of Advisors? Like what caliber of individuals are on the board and what companies may they be representing? And then talk a little bit more about kind of those connections to other industries.
Yeah, great. So maybe I'll start that by saying that in general, always exceptions, but in general, we tend to have three most common lanes of interest among our students and the most typical types of job placement categories. The first is team and league. So students who come to us and are interested in getting business side or marketing side jobs for teams or leagues in their business and front offices. A second very common lane for us is with the sports product companies, right? We have the great opportunity being 100 miles south of Portland, where we have Nike, Adidas, and many, many, many others, and plenty of relationships outside of Portland as well. But marketing and business management jobs of various types at sport product companies is a second very active lane of interest and involvement. And then the third lane, which is increasingly an area of interest for more and more students, is what Craig and I refer to as corporate sports marketing. So think about Verizon and Coca-Cola and Toyota and Airbnb. What are those brands doing in and around sport? What sports sponsorship and marketing deals are they investing in? And what's the role of an agency ecosystem that supports those marketing partnerships? So those three lanes, team and league, sports product companies, and sort of corporate partnerships in sport, that is a mirror that we continue to see throughout all our stakeholders. So on our board of advisors, we have team and league people, agency people, corporate brands, and product companies. We have a Nike and an Adidas representative on our board. We have someone who works for the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee selling sponsorships for the USOC and LA28. We have the Senior Vice President of Sport and Event Marketing for T-Mobile. We have the Executive Vice President of the WTA, Global Women's Tennis Tour. So in our engagement with industry, whether that's on our industry board, in our experiential learning that we program for our students, and then our alumni paths, it tends to follow a sort of third across those lanes of interest. But then there are, we want to be an agent, or we have people who want to do a sport tech startup, or we have people who want to be a coach, or we have people who want to design the next gen of sneakers. We really have always real interesting outliers to our three paths, but generally speaking, most people fall within those three areas. And so we program our events and try to create industry relationships that align with those three pipelines.
That is some fantastic information. Thank you for sharing that, Whitney. So that kind of spins us off into some of the participant questions then. So we've got these great industry partners in potentially three lanes in different areas that candidates can focus in on as they're looking to kind of make those changes and pivot in their careers. The students want to know a little bit about the curriculum. So what types of classes would students take that are required as part of, let's say, the MBA specialization in sports business? And then we'll dive deeper into some curriculum questions.
Okay, great. So you'll take, of course, the classic MBA core, right? Again, the strength of our program is that this is an MBA degree, which is a really important flexible, valuable tool for you as you go forward in your career. So you'll take the classic traditional multidiscipline MBA core. Specialized courses in sport include, actually the class that I'm teaching right now is the sports marketing class. And that's just a classic demand creation class, right? How do we get more butts in seats, sell more tickets to a baseball game, get people to play more rounds of golf, get people to buy more running shoes, right? How do we create demand for sport related products? We have a sports sponsorship class, which is an entire deep dive for the quarter into this relationship that corporate brands have with sport. So always timely stuff in the headlines, new deals being announced, new categories being opened up. So we dedicate an entire term to the study of the relationships between corporate brands and sport. We have a sports product class, a managing sports product class. So that is a perfect opportunity for those who are potentially interested in working at a Nike or an Adidas or a Lululemon or a Patagonia. And we do everything in that class from early work at design and sort of product planning to price points. How do these products, what stories do we tell once they get to the store shelf? And now there are no store shelves. There are just mobile desktop computer apps where you're buying your sportswear. So what does that look like? How do we get consumers to feel like they understand a product that they're going to run in or train in or play tennis in a digital environment? So we have a sports product class. We have a sports finance class, which is critical, right? That's the engine that drives all of this. So what are the macro levers for driving revenue in sport? What is the cost structure for sport? What are unique opportunities to maximize revenue and create creative fundraising and financial resources to grow our business? We have a sports law class, which I used to call the lockout palooza class when all of the sports leagues were having trouble with their collective bargaining agreements. Seems less so now, but there's always something to talk about, right? That class is talking about the new legalization of sports gambling in the United States. That class is talking about name, image, and likeness for collegiate sports student athletes. Sports law class, you know, we could talk every day on a new headline in sport. And then we also have additional electives in sport and sustainability. That's a wheelhouse topic here at Oregon. Really a front edge conversation about what's going on in the industry of sport and questions related to making the business more efficient and sustainable. And we also are testing this spring a sports analytics class. Again, never a shortage of things to talk about around using data and analytics to make both basketball players more efficient at basketball and making the business more efficient from a marketing perspective. So those are the specialized courses that are available, and they sit on top of a very traditional MBA core.
Fantastic. And so inside of those classes, one of the questions from our participants is, what's the ratio of students to teachers in kind of with the sports business classes that people would take?
Well, we can use mine that I have right now. I have 28 students in the MBA sports marketing class. You know, those classes tend to be everybody who's in the sports business concentration, plus a handful of other MBA students who are focusing in other areas. And I love it when we have folks from other concentrations who are interested in joining us. In this class I have right now, I think we have 3 students from our Center for Sustainable Business Practices who are in the sports marketing class. Sometimes we have graduate students from other areas of campus who are not MBA students, but maybe they're studying communications, or maybe they're studying economics and they're interested in sport marketing. So those elective classes are usually 30 or fewer, and it's going to be your cohort of sports business specializers plus a couple extra friends that we see in the hallway and have them come join our fun.
And what would you say would be the overall cohort size for, let's say if you're doing the 2-year MBA, typically what's the average kind of size group that you'd be going in with? And do they get to network with other members of their cohort from first years and second years?
Yes, yes to all. So the 2-year curriculum map, which I'm sure is available on the website pretty readily, that first fall term is a core term where you are with the entire MBA cohort for that first quarter, taking the core marketing, core management, core accounting, etc. So there is an immediate immersion across the entire MBA program in your first fall as you all take the core together. I mentioned that there are always non-sports business students in our elective courses as well. So those touch points are there. And then this, I think, is a great opportunity to talk about what we refer to as our MBA seminar. You'll also see that on curriculum documents that explain what the requirements and the characteristics of the program are. The MBA seminar is a weekly class that is the sports business cohort. It meets once a week. Craig and I manage that class together, and that really is homeroom. That really is Warsaw homeroom. All of the sports business students together. We check in with each other on any of our programming, right? Let's say we have a workshop 2 weeks from now. I need you to sign up for this. Make sure you fill out your waiver for this. We have a board Zoom call, prioritize your board members 1 through 3, a very technical homeroom experience. Plus, there's a weekly guest speaker from industry in that seminar class. And that is sports business cohorts. So as first year students, you will be in the weekly sports business seminar with your core group and all of the second year sports business students as well. And so you have a built-in weekly shared experience with the second year sports business students as well. And I guess from a numbers perspective, Jared, you can help me out, but in general, the last 4 or 5 years, we've been averaging between 22 and 26 sports business students in a first year.
Yeah, we kind of cut out there a little bit, Whitney, on the last part of that answer. But yeah, typically, what we see as well on the admission side is, anywhere between 22 to 26 students. And include some of, if we have 1-year accelerated students also participating, they also get to participate in the seminar as well, combined. So you've got all the students together in that weekly Thursday seminar, which is fantastic. So one of the questions, you talked about the weekly every Thursday afternoon seminar with some amazing guest speakers. And every week, what I enjoy about the specialization and the center is that the center sends out a particular email with everything that's going on for that week plus upcoming weeks. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that weekly newsletter talks about? And then we've got some more questions from participants.
Yes. It's funny, maybe this is a little secret. The weekly email is just for me. The weekly email is for me to make sure that I have my act together. But yes, we in the spirit of literally making sure we're all on the same page, I spend every Sunday evening or early before the rest of my household is up on Monday morning, just writing out what's the run of show for this current week, right? So it's a very simple, not well designed. If any of you out there have design chops and want to help me make my document look like it belongs in the 21st century, I'll take you up on that. But um, I just break out. Here's what we have this week from the Warsaw Center: speakers, deadlines, opportunities. That just continues to roll from upcoming events up to reminders of what's going on this week. Um, I drop in a headlines area. It's definitely our hope that our sports business students are regularly reading sports business trade magazines and business articles. But I put a couple of top headlines every week in there to sort of hopefully be a forcing function to remind people to read up on the news. I put a little alumni highlights. So I'll just go to LinkedIn and pick 2 or 3 people pretty randomly, honestly, and I drop those in just to sort of, again, give a nudge to say, here's a demonstration of the diverse and interesting things that our alumni are doing. So I put those in there. And then since the COVID lockdown, I have added a reasons for optimism section. So I've been putting, cat videos and skateboarding dogs and inspiring quotes and recipes and K-pop YouTube videos, just whatever gives us a reason to remember that there's reasons to be optimistic and to laugh and smile and enjoy this ride. So it's just there to literally keep us all on the same page, organized with where we are, where we're going, and just a little sort of nudges from me to remind people to think about the big picture. So that's that.
Well, beyond kind of the seminar, could you maybe describe what a particular Warsaw sports business MBA student, kind of we could talk about the class schedule. Classes are usually Monday through Thursday, and students have Fridays free. But what would a typical week look like for a Warsaw student?
2 days a week. So it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday class cadence. Most people take 4 classes at a time. And then we meet weekly. Thursday at 4 is our seminar experience. I'll also add that we have a very robust undergraduate program in sports business, and they have a sports business club. They also have industry guest speakers who are amazing. And so that group meets every other week, and our MBA students are always invited to participate in that as well. So that could be every other Wednesday night where you take advantage of the programming from the Sports Business Club. Then we meet Thursday afternoon for seminar. And then Friday, there is not class, but Friday is when we do the bulk of our industry engagement. So when I mentioned maybe we have a site visit, right? When we're able to safely go to Nike World Headquarters in Beaverton, for example, that would be an all-day Friday. We've been using the time on Fridays to do our Zoom industry connectivity moments. And we encourage the students to use Friday as a professional development day, to schedule informational interviews with or other industry folks to work. Friday is meant to be a professional development, advance the ball kind of day. No classes per se, but plenty of work. And then you got to sprinkle in your group project and classwork in those other hours. MBA programs are famous, and we equally are famous for group work and classes, right? So there's definitely the need to spend hours during the week with your team members in your class and to make progress on those projects.
Excellent. So one of the participants asked a little bit about the sports activism program. Could you talk a little, maybe a 1 minute or so on that, a little bit more about sports activism?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, just sort of people asking, what is my take on, the state of sport as a place for activism from either an athlete perspective or a team or league perspective. And, I love to answer it because sport and activism is not a new topic. Sport has been at the leading edge of progressivism the beginning, right? I'm talking Jesse Owens kind of stuff, right? So the entire arc of sport from Jesse Owens to Jackie Robinson to Billie Jean King to Colin Kaepernick, this is in the DNA of sport. And so, the particular topic may change, right? And evolve. And the way that sport activism manifests itself in this unique moment of time is, of course, different. Um, but sport is a place that advances society and brings communities together. That's always been what sport has achieved. So it's always going to be a part of who we are, and it always has been. Um, you know, our job in the Warsaw Center is to talk about how that manifests itself in the business, right? And what are the business implications of activism or not activism? What are the responsibilities of a business? What are the brand implications if you say something or you don't say something? Um, you know, so we both support and then we keep our business hat on, right? We're an MBA program, and so what does this mean for the business? And what are the opportunities and what are the potential losses? And it's an inspiring place to be, knowing that the world has so many challenges that we're facing, both from a social equity perspective and from a global pandemic. And we are excited because sport is an answer to both of those questions. So how do we take our unique power in sport and use our business to make change? It's actually quite an optimistic feeling that we have.
We have a wonderful question from the audience that asks a little bit about, students that may not be coming from a business background that are joining the MBA program, specifically in sports business. Are there any common challenges that students face when trying to pivot into, let's say, not only an MBA, but jumping into taking business classes, but also sports business classes?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if I would use the word challenge. I think that word is a little strong, but you know, we get people who love sport. That's what that's who we are. That's what we do. We love sport too, right? And it is part of my job and part of Craig's job to make sure that the conversations we're having are about the implication on the business, right? We can go to happy hour after class and we can talk about who was on the Hall of Fame ballot and whether you should play a 4-3 defense or something else, right? We can talk X's and O's, sport talk, but what we do is still focused on the business. And so for some people, they sometimes have a little difficulty um, putting their fan hat at the door and putting their business hat on when they come. But that's fun to help people manage through, right? And to sort of say, how do you take all this fan passion that you have and channel it to someone's financial statement, right? How do we turn this into a business opportunity? So that's a bit of a challenge, I would say. Um, we frankly have more non-business background people sometimes than we do business background people. And we love that. The diversity of thought and the diversity of experience that can bring to a classroom, to a cohort, and to an organization is highly valuable. So if you're one of those people who are wondering, I don't have a business background, I'm not sure, that brings significant value and really makes the community robust and interesting. So we've had people who were engineers, we've had people who were chemists, we had have people who studied French, we have people from all over the world who haven't experienced sport in the way that we experience it in North America. And it's a great way to broaden the point of view of what we're doing and talking about. So I would say have no worries that the faculty is well experienced in teaching folks who are new to business. You've got a lot of classmates who are willing to help bring you along if they have a little bit of experience. And the different educational and job backgrounds make it a much more interesting place.
I think it's a great point that anyone can join an MBA to learn those key sets of skills. Now, switching gears, we have another timely question. So, one of the questions that was brought up by our participants is, can you talk a little bit about employment outcomes for our students? And this may have changed a little bit because of COVID and what's going on in the world of sports, but maybe let's touch on kind of employment outcomes over the past year with and maybe pre-COVID, kind of what that situation has looked like. And maybe let's even dive into some potential career outcomes based on those three kind of areas we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah. This is not surprising, that things have been difficult in the job market in the last year. But the good news is we're seeing some really strong signs of recovery now, and sports organizations are starting to come back. We always knew that they would, but they're starting to come back. I think there are certain areas of the business that will be back sooner and stronger and have maybe some really robust opportunities moving forward. Anything related to data and analytics, anything related to digital, the sport business is getting ever more digitally based, and that can be with sport product companies, as we talked about, right? The Nike sneakers app, for example. What is Foot Locker doing? No one's going to go to a mall and buy a shoe anymore. So what is a direct to consumer, digitally based business like? And in general, the use of data analytics, those quantitative skills, students who can take a data set, play around with it, use software tools like Python or R or Tableau, the ability to take data and understand what that means from an opportunity perspective in the business, to modify one variable. What happens if I change the ticket price by $5 or $10, and then run the numbers and come up with, okay, this is what we think our incremental revenue could be if we go from a $35 ticket to a $41 ticket, those types of things. So in general, jobs that are based in missiles are coming back and are big opportunities in the future, as is digital marketing. And I would also say sustainability and long-term viability of business models. I don't know how many chief resilience officers there were in 2019, but there are a lot of chief resilience officers now. And so that's everything from supply chain to production to IT technologies that support your employee base, all of those things that we sort of had to figure out. those also hold in the sports business, right? So those are categories of jobs that are coming back and I think will be more robust than some others. Um, Another trend that I don't think is surprising, but is definitely part of the conversation is just quite simply remote work, right? Teams and leagues will probably have league offices at the sports stadium, and people will go back to work there. But will people go back to work at the Nike campus? Not the way they have. And if you think about global agencies like Wasserman or IMG or Octagon, are those people going to have offices in 4 tentpole cities around the world? I don't know. So I think it's a really interesting time from a job perspective because remote work is forever changed, right? That genie's not going back in the bottle. And so how does that impact where our students can go and look for work, the kinds of roles, and where you live and where you're based for work? Those questions are entirely new. We're getting students today. It's February 25th. We've got students who are graduating in June. They already have jobs. They're already starting because they're doing remote work and they're doing remote school. And they don't live in either place. They don't live in Eugene and they don't live where their company's based, but they're doing both things. And so, for as stressful as this period has been, and for all of the uncertainty that it's injected into the job market, I think if a person chooses to really be open-minded about what this means about the future and a broader set of potential roles and a broader set or a more uniquely defined where do you work question, I think it actually increases opportunities. Employers will be more flexible. You will be more flexible. You'll be able to leverage remote work in a new way. And I think in the end, that's going to broaden the opportunity set for our students.
Would you mind briefly, as we look at overall MBA salaries, the range is wide, right? Depending on a whole bunch of factors. But someone asked a question, what are the typical salary ranges for people graduating with, a sports business specialization? Because we could see, we see the overarching salary range could be between 30,000 and 121,000, depending on the job, the country, that you're doing the job in. So there's a lot of different salary ranges, but could you maybe talk really briefly on what the salary ranges might be for MBA students with
Yes. Yes. So I've been doing this job for a long time, and I don't think I can point to one person who had a 6-figure job immediately from our MBA program. A few years ago, we had 2 or 3 people that were in the 90s something, 90K something. And each one of those people had almost 10 years of experience before they came to the program. A more typical outcome for people who say have 0 to 3 years of work experience, which could be defined as a post undergrad job or 2 years of internships while you were in college and 1 year out of college, but sort of early career 0 to 3 years of experience, plus a high quality internship while you're with us. Those numbers look more typically in the 50 to 60 range coming out than something, let's say, closer to 90. But definitely the lead variable that impacts things the most is how much professional work experience you are bringing in with you.
Good. So we have another question from a participant that wants to know, what is 1 or 2 things that you could say that make the University of Oregon sports business specialization unique compared to other sports programs that are out there? What are something that I think he goes on to say that, what are things that when students graduate, what do they possess having gone through an Oregon MBA to set them apart from other people when they go to get jobs in the world of sport?
Great. I'll say two things, although I could say many, but I'll say only two. The first is we are different in the breadth and diversity of what we mean when we say work in the sport business. There are many great programs out there, and they tend to be a little more traditionally defined as sports management programs, heavy into team and league, which we are too. But what makes us different is a really evolving and innovative definition of what is a sports job, right? Um, we're active in esports. We had the chief business officer of DraftKings 2 weeks ago. We've had the senior vice president of marketing for Riot Games. We I had an informational call with the director of Intel Sports on Tuesday, who wants to hire some Warsaw interns at Intel Sports. So we really are purposeful and trying to be on that front edge of what is it to have a sports job in 2021, right? There are sports jobs at Google and Amazon and Intel and Facebook. Um, so so I think what makes us different is a more broadly defined, ever evolving, slightly leaning into tech definition of what is sports marketing. We do all the core things, and we try to really push that defining line of, what is a sports company these days. And I think you all would agree that companies like Twitter and companies like Microsoft are definitely sports companies. And the other thing I'll say, which I'm sure everyone says, but here it really is real, and that is we're a family. There is something undefinable and inarticulatable about what being a part of this community does to people. It creates a set of human relationships that are more valuable than any of this other stuff we've been talking about, that are way more valuable than curriculum and study tours and who's on your board. There is something special. And, I wish you all could have seen our kickoff call we had in September. The brand new students were here. It was the first day of orientation. It was the first day they were meeting each other and on Zoom that day. And all the alumni started crying about the power of this place and so deeply connected to this experience and people in this community. That's what started our year. The very first experience was alumni brought to tears in the discussion of the impact that this program had on their lives and the depth of the relationships with other people. So I know other programs are like families too. It's on a different level here, and that shit is real, and it's special. And I have to stop talking right now before I start crying.
We should end the webinar series right there on that note, but we do have a lot more questions. Well, some of the students and participants are asking, what does participation look like at the university level? And maybe that might tie in with the center. So what does the center help do for students in the way of finding internships and opportunities to connect on campus with potentially, are there opportunities to connect with Oregon athletics, or what do the opportunities look like between the connections with the center, campus, and we can broaden that into internships and the athletic department?
Okay, great. I'll sort of break that into two pieces. Yes to athletics. I'm glad everyone brought it up. And it also could have been part of the answer about what makes us different too. there are few universities where they have on their campus both world-class sports business curriculum and world-class intercollegiate athletics department. Few that have both. And Oregon definitely has both. And so it is a great opportunity to study with us, to be studying these topics of sports brands and other timely discussions, and then have Oregon athletics kicking ass across the river and being part of our ecosystem. So we have great relationships with the staff at athletics that comes to that comes to fruition in lots of different ways. Guest speakers, lots of different student activity points, but they also have internships for sure. And opportunities for graduate students to get involved. I'll highlight one in particular, but there are many more. Oregon Athletics has a program that they call Women in Flight, which is a sub-brand of their development function, which raises money specifically earmarked for women's sports and female student athletes. And the Warsaw Center has a funding mechanism whereby Women in Flight every year hires one Warsaw MBA student to be their year-round intern, helping them on all programming elements of Women in Flight. And it comes with an internship stipend that's paid for by the Warsaw Center. That's one example. There are many others. In fact, last week, 2 of our first-year Warsaw MBA students were hired as student managers for Oregon baseball. There's also opportunities for students to get involved a lot with social and digital media over athletics. So it's a really unique opportunity, and our relationship with athletics is really strong, always open to new ideas, but certainly makes it special for our students to have a real live living lab of awesomeness that's on our own campus. A particular note for all of you, given where you are in the application cycle and the calendar, is that next summer, 2022, the University of Oregon will host the World Outdoor Athletics Championships. That's the World Championships of Track and Field. The World Championships, the first time ever, fun fact, that event has ever been in the United States. Never been in the US before, and it's coming to our weird little rainy college town. So we're excited about that exposure for our students. I'm on every possible committee on this campus around what is the university's opportunity related to the World Athletics Championships. There will be once in a lifetime world-class co-curricular opportunities for our students to get involved in the World Championships in 2022. So that's sort of the campus picture with athletics and other special things that go on. And internships in general, we in the Warsaw Center hold hands with our partners in More Career Services here, which is the college's career services function. We have a well-built partnership with them to help get you game ready in terms of your documents and your job search, and does your LinkedIn profile maximize your opportunities and get you prepped for interviews. And the truth of the matter is there are more internship opportunities that we put in front of our students than we can fill. Part of our reputation, part of our differentiation, and our brand leadership in this category is that everyone sends us their leads all the time. If you add the inbound traffic that Craig and I get on a weekly basis, I mean, we're getting 3 to 5 internship and job leads a week. We curate them. We send them out through the seminar class page function. Sometimes we send them directly in emails. So between a career services department, which is designed to help you internship and job search, plus open source job boards that the Warsaw Center either buys on your behalf or curates and sends to you, plus inbound leads that Craig and I get because of our relationship and reputation in the industry. There's a list of opportunities that we can't fill. Our job is to put those things in front of you, and your job is to say yes. Your job is to apply for everything, be open-minded. Look, the truth is that not everyone's going to get an internship or a job at an NBA team. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and some of it requires some open-mindedness to seeing that the opportunity to grow and learn and develop your sort of career progression. Not everybody's first job can be at the National Football League. So we work hard to talk about what is a realistic plan. Where can you get amazing professional development experience that may not be at a company that was on your top 3 list, but they're providing you with a great opportunity. So we have to work together as partners, you as students, and me and Craig and the career services team. There are plenty of opportunities, not a shortage of opportunities. Your job is to match up your skill sets and interest, and find what fits for you. But it won't be because there's a lack of opportunities. I'll just leave it at that. Ooh, still muted, pal.
That's a great answer. Well, we have time for maybe one last question, and I think maybe we can combine parting wisdom. If you were to give advice to students considering the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center and the affiliated Sports Business MBA specialization, what would be some parting advice you would give that we can spin it to answer one of these last questions to say, what do you think the biggest advantages are as part of that advice to doing your MBA at the University of Oregon with the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center?
I mean, I always find this question challenging, and because Jared and Sarah are looking at me, I feel even more pressure. But I can only tell you my authentic response, right? And that is that the absolute truth of the matter is the single greatest determinant of your success is you, right? It really is. What we do and what we have is special, and it's world class, and the people here are amazing human beings, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we learn and we have fun and we operate with passion, integrity, and leadership, which is our motto. And what we have and what we do is world class, amazing, and awesome. Can you have a successful sports business career and make a choice other than joining us? Yes, of course you can. We can only provide you with opportunities. You do it. You do it. You are the ones who get the internships, work hard, meet people, network. People are going to choose you because of who you are. We are part of the story. We are not the only part of the story. We're not the only place you could go. So I love what we do, and I'm proud of what we do, and we are excellent at what we do. But the determining factor is who you are and what you invest in your own outcomes. We can't do it without you, and you can't do it without us. So I guess I'll just leave it at that, which is a huge non-answer to the question. But we're no silver bullet, and no program is a silver bullet. That is you and what you're willing to invest in yourself and your experience. We're here to help, and we will set you to succeed. But the answer to that question is ultimately up to all of you. We'd love to have you. and we believe we can help put you on the path. But in the end, you are the definer and the driver. We're just here to support you for the ride.
Well, thank you, Whitney, for those great parting words of advice. And for all those that are watching, we thank you for joining us to learn more about the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center. And we appreciate the director of the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center, Whitney Wagner, joining us for today for this conversation. So thank you. Please reach out if you have additional questions. Sarah and I would be happy to talk with you one-on-one or connect you with Whitney or Craig in the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center. So thank you. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you apply and be a member of the Warsaw community. Thank you.